evening, people. Happy New Year to you. Car, bet there's a few feeling it out there. Back at work. I know I am today. Wow. Yeah, please just bear with me this evening because I've had an absolute shitter of an headache all afternoon that I can't shift. And there's not a lot firing upstairs. So I'm apologising in advance for that one. But there we are. So I hope you've all had a nice Christmas. I certainly enjoyed break and some downtime with the family as well. But yeah, glad to be getting back at it, albeit very slowly. And yeah, exciting stuff, exciting times ahead, and a fresh year, new koi season approaching. Although, yeah, I'm not generally wired to switch off. It's just a different season approaching, which the winter one seems to be all the crazier, to be fair. But there we go. Yeah, a few nice bits coming out of the fish house updates. I've actually had some another meeting with the guys, the plumbers, today. So it looks like we're finally cracking on to get that the other one of our other outdoor areas on heat, which is going to be exciting. It is, for those of you who might have seen that in one of my journal videos. It's yeah, it's going to solve a few issues with the system, hopefully at the same time, or definitely from what I'm told. But at the same time, what's going on with the barn? I'm ready for a trip again, mate. To be fair, I didn't bother doing my hair today because I was feeling a bit shit this morning, and then it's just got worse. And desperate for a shave again. It's shocking. There we go. Yeah, so heating system. That's going to be a huge advantage. It's been a weird one ever since I had the big system installed on the two main growing fish houses. It's been amazing. It was the best thing I've ever invested in. But then it's just kind of, thrown up other problems that I've got a lot of ponds, I think 20 odd of them outside, that I can't actually use properly this time of year. And it kind of stops the flow in coming because everything needs to come into those heated ponds. And then it can't generally leave this time of year because acclimatizing them into natural ambient outside at the minute is just too dangerous. It's, yeah, crazy stuff. But exciting. I'm going to document that system being installed because it's a hell of a job when they installed the first lot, putting 18 ponds on. And yeah, this time there's actually going to be a buffer vessel going in, as well as 13 more ponds being put on heat. So yeah, crazy stuff. But I hope you guys are well, and please feel free to fire in any questions that you've got. Like I say, take it easy with me because there's not a lot going on upstairs tonight. And yeah, this evening I'm just tying in. We've got the announcement of the winners of the Sunny Bank Koi Sakai Growout event as well, and there's actually some nice prizes for the winners of that as well. I've got those fish on here and documented. So yeah, we'll have a look at them and why I've chose those fish as the winners. And obviously, yeah, I've not kind of managed to catch up with you guys since I've been to Japan the last time. So I got back on the 20th. I think it was the 20th. Yeah, it was. And obviously quickly dived straight into Christmas, as well as all the jet lag and all the rest of it. So yeah, that was another phenomenal trip. Got some good stuff done, some really good stuff done, to be fair, for this coming season. So it's really important to be getting that toe side business done at the right time of year. And yeah, another cracking day. Got an amazing video film with Fujo again. I was actually selecting toe side DK Shiros, which we've had a lot of demand for. And yeah, really amazing thing he laid out for me, and managed to get that videoed. So yeah, really pleased with that one. And then yeah, checking out the client I was with, checking on a lot of his fish. It's been quite an interesting one there, with some of the ups and downs on that journey and those fish, but managed to secure some phenomenal pieces once again. And yeah, just excited for what's coming. Shipments all throughout this month, and just plenty going on. But yeah, the trip was amazing. And yeah, other than that, I've got a few more bits actually. So I'm just going to start introducing a bit of a Koi Talk segment onto Q&A lives again. But yeah, the big one for the start of the year, I've been feeling like it's in need of a freshen up. We are pretty much 2.5 years into Koi Talk now. It's been phenomenal. The support from you guys has been amazing. those who are subscribed, those who are not subscribed, who are going to do so as soon as they've finished watching this. And yeah, everybody who buys the back issues all over the world, it's amazing. And yeah, just thought, from its initial conception, it's about time. I'm never one for just sitting on things. And yeah, I've been working with the design team and really livened up the internals. Externally, I'm never going to touch that baby because I think it's become a little bit iconic and a big part of the thing of collecting the magazine. But yeah, the internals bit, just working on it to bring the images to the floor a little bit more, bring it up to life. Yeah, so everybody who's subscribed, look forward to that coming later on with the next issue. Again, I can never remember what it is, but the next one that's due out on the run. And yeah, I'm excited to share it with you. It looks superb, and we've been working closely with Steve as well, just to make a few sort of tweaks to the writing style of a few bits as well. So looking forward to sharing that. And even better news, which I know you'll enjoy. This, as of next week, we're going to start filming a few podcast episodes again. And then from there, hopefully consistently get that coming back for you. So you see, I'm not far. It took me a minute to twig then. Nice one, Keith. No, we've already got the page. We've got several pages in there. Then Koi appreciation pages, mate. That's exactly what they are. Absolute filth. But yeah, so looking forward to sharing that. Like I say, podcast on its way back for good this time, and you'll like again the changes that we're making there. So stay tuned for that one. So that's enough of me rambling on. Now I'm going to get into your questions and start having a look. Let's see what we've got. Oh yeah, so Japan's had a bit of a rough ride just recently about the earthquake. Yeah, so I mean it hit around the west coast. Niigata prefecture was affected, and it did filter through to Nagaoka. But as far as I'm aware, no koi breeders suffered any serious damage, although I've seen some of the videos from the fish houses, and my God, the water was absolutely rocking. It's crazy. And then you may well have seen they had the plane disaster as well at Haneda Airport. It was all feeling a little bit close to home. But so, yeah, crazy. I mean, hats off to them guys with the plane crash, how quickly they dealt with clearing that plane and getting all that sorted. It's remarkable. And the earthquake stuff, obviously, love goes out to them people because it's horrendous, horrendous. The damage that you see at times, it's just mind blowing. It does fascinate me why they still continue to build wooden sheds as houses, which they're not very earthquake proof, but in the bigger cities, they are earthquake proof all the time, but they just seem to just wipe these more mountainous areas out a lot when they happen at the scale that they do. But they're very resilient people to get on this stuff, and I'm sure they'll get back live and kicking. But as far as the koi stuff goes, yeah, no damage as I know. I'd say other than some water being very heavily shaken, everything's been intact. Have you managed to prize that share out of AJ's hands yet? Not a chance. Trust me, I have got no hope. He is all over that one. He knows he's got a good one, but it'd be an interesting test for him. Getting in the business to see if he can manage to get rid of them. It's really hard. I remember when I first started, overcoming it. And I kind of did overcome it, and now I've just kind of reverted back to type, and I'm absolutely shocking, to be fair. But it's a fascinating one. Sort of on that subject, it's always, with the fish, especially with what I do with raising them, it's the part I really enjoy the most. And it's just nice to see stuff through to fruition sometimes. I don't get a lot of opportunity to do it. And the sheer challenge of raising something through from a super small towsai up to a high quality, larger specimen is just the dream. And koi breeders do it. I had it with Fujo back in September when I was doing the Tosai Koraku, and there was one fish in particular which had been good to me that day. Let me have some really special fish out of that pond. And then this one Koraku is just a really phenomenal fish, and is just like this fish is my dream when I asked to buy it. So I can't argue with that. I didn't push it any further. So, and I say I completely get it. It's just nice to see them through sometimes. This is why they are often reluctant to sell certain fish, because that fear that once it becomes customer owned, although they might agree initially, yeah, we'll keep it in Japan, or if that customer decides they want to ship it home, boom, that fish is gone, unfortunately. And then so too is their dream of a potential prize or whatever it is they envisioned in that fish. So it is a very curious game. I'm in Washington State. How can I treat ick at 40-degree water? Oh God, I presume we are talking Fahrenheit on that one. Sorry, I don't know why that's changed over. Just bear with me a minute. I'm going to show I'm shit at converting stuff. Let's have a look. Bet someone out there will tell me before. Oh wow, yeah. So guessing 4 degrees, crikey. I've always found this one interesting because, I mean, the ideal scenario here is to put a bit of heat on and warm it up slightly. That would be it. But what you've got here, if the white spot is there and it's active and reproducing, you really, it's there, look, Fahrenheit, you really need, it's a toss-up between using the treatment and not using it, or using it safely and not using it. So, malachite and formalin, is it even going to be that effective at 4 degrees? It could be difficult, but ultimately there's not a lot you can do other than that white spot has a difficulty getting rid of it when there's no formaldehyde in the medication. Formaldehyde at that temperature is probably not going to be all that great. But yeah, what do you do if you're really in a situation where you cannot heat and you've got white spot? If you leave that white spot and it is active, that is going to do a hell of a lot of damage. It's going to move through them fish. It's going to cause absolute chaos for you. So in that case, I would say you've got to go with it. Ignore what the medication, the warnings, what they say. You've got to try and get shut and use the treatment. A lot of the warnings on treatments are obviously very much aimed at a company not getting sued. So they're put on there for that reason. This is where you're at. That white spot will not only wipe your fish out eventually, you could be left with nasty secondary bacterial problems if it keeps going and going, and it's going to cause mortalities. So, honestly, in that case, you've really got no other option but to medicate. You could try something a little bit softer, providing you've got KH in your water, like Columbo Alprex, if it was available, because you've not got the formalin, and the malachite and acroflavin might perform a bit better at that temperature, but it doesn't often work. And if it's becoming well established, you're really going to need that formaldehyde. But the ideal thing would be to warm the pond up a little bit before actually putting the medication in. But yeah, you're in a bit of a tough spot there, Susan. I've often seen people asking about that one because of medication, so don't use it under 10 degrees. There's loads of different variables to that, but the main important thing is your decision right now is, do I treat, don't I treat? Because the medication of choice would be a malachite and formalin mix. And if you leave that white spot, that's going to do more harm than good. So, just be careful using any medication at 4 degrees. If it hits the fish harder than it needs to, they might struggle to bounce back. Hence, I'd say if there's any chance of getting any heat on there, even just for a short period to help with the medication and recovery, that would be the most advisable thing to do in that process. But I get that's not always possible. Sam, I'm going to put this one on. There's not a chance. If you were koi obviously in the UK, which dealer would you shop with and why? I have got no idea how to answer that one, to be fair. There's loads of great ones out there, and it depends what you are looking for from your dealer, to be honest. So loads of different people got loads of different areas that they might be into and specialize in, and it depends how into the hobby you are, to be fair. Some just like to stay local, which is always great. It's good to have that support network available. So yeah, if I was going to shop, Really don't know with that one. Obviously, I work with some really great guys in there, and again, it's all that experience. You know, Sunny Bank Koi is doing some amazing stuff at the minute. The shop looks absolutely great, and that's very attractive for a lot of people. Then certain dealers stick to certain fish as well. You know, which can have an impact because if they're not got what you're looking for, it can be hard to just to stick with one choice as well. But I think the biggest bit is it's important to find a dealer who you are comfortable with and can help you. And that's actually ties in with something I'm writing a really long piece for Koi Talk at the minute that's going to come out over the next 2 or 3 months. And one of the big things I've written into this as a small part of the bigger article is how important it is to have a guiding voice, a strong guiding voice in the hobby for you, especially when you're new and less experienced. And I did actually see it yesterday in one of my customers' WhatsApp groups. You know, a guy asked for some advice, and nobody did anything wrong, but the amount of different, you know, information, ideas, knowledge being put forward was so confusing for the person who asked the question, coming from so many different angles. And by the time it was done, it was mind blowing. Tell you the truth. So I think, you know, really, really important to have that guiding voice, somebody you do trust. I think the big thing here is figuring out who to trust. And from that, you know, when you're looking at a dealer, you can look at everything they've got around them, or if it's a hobbyist as well, you know, look at what they're doing. You know, have they got a collection of koi of the quality you're looking to aspire to? Because if they haven't, they might not be the right person. What are their standards like? Do they actually raise fish? Because if raising fish is important to you, is there any proof of them actually doing it anywhere? Because if not, it might just be secondhand information that's getting passed on that might not actually benefit you. But when you do find someone and you're confident they can help you fulfill, you know, becoming the koi keeper you want to become, from that point on, they need to be that voice. Because, you know, ultimately when you fire stuff into public forums and stuff like that, you get all these different opinions, and then you've got to try and figure out from those opinions how credible they are. And that's a problem, because let's say, how do you know you can trust it? Is it just somebody who's just read it somewhere else and then just passed it on and doesn't really truly understand it? That's not going to help you or apply it. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna stick with that one, Sam, in fear of upsetting a load of people. But the one I'll end with is Koi Wholesale dealers. They're the ones you want to stick with, mate. Happy days. Right, let's see what we've got. You see, I've got talking koi. I've come alive a little bit now. Either that or a load of medication I just piled down my neck before I got on here. When you chat about 18 being a good conditioning temp, could you explain more what that means and what you do at this temp? I'm sitting around there now. Would like to make the most of it. Thanks. Yeah, so it's just what you can tend to find is, you know, conditioning. Really, when we're talking conditioning, we're like getting them looking their absolute best, whether you plan to show them or not. That's the whole point of the conditioning sort of concept. So the thing that it does is it's not too cold. As to when you get too cold, you can start over thickening the mucus and, you know, struggling getting all the colors in peak condition. It's a temperature that seems to just let all the colors thrive. So, and what you don't want to do is when you're too warm, that's when you've got to be feeding a higher growth, you know, a high fat, high protein diet, because at that temperature, they're metabolizing a lot higher. They're burning off the fats and the calories and everything. So as you're firing food in, if it's not there, you're not going to build the volume up. So at 18, you've got this amazing, you know, capacity to have so much flexibility to do what you want. If at 18 I started feeding Sakai Akari growth, I would gain so much volume in a short space of time. It'd be bonkers, absolutely bonkers. But what you can also do at that temp is not have to feed a growth food and just maintain keeping them ticking over nicely, because they're not burning anything off too quickly. And yeah, it's just a temp you can bring all the colors together really, really well. You can still use color food there if you want to at that temperature, probably have an even higher impact because it's cooler and you're not stretching everything out, growing them too much. But the main thing of doing it is to take them away from them kind of diets onto something more kind of neutral. If you wanted to feed Saki pure white, you know, to really condition Shiroji fast, it would work really well, or switching to Sake balance, but just removing those diets that can create toxins in the skin, really, it can help polish the Shiroji. It seems to be a really good diet for temperature, for bringing on sumi, because I've actually seen when it gets too cold, that can have an adverse effect on sumi progression. At 18 just seems to be this magical number where you can do so much, and it gives you the scope to. That's not to say, you know, when you drop down out of that into your kind of winter temps around that, you know, 8 to 12 mark. At 12, you probably notice not too much difference in the actual behavior of the fish, but obviously you've got to imagine what impact it's having on the filtration and the efficiency of the filtration as well when you're at that temperature, because you've got to make sure obviously that's in order enough to actually keep feeding them. And at 12, that can get a bit suspect. You've got to really ease back with the food at that point. So yeah, that's why it just seems to be a magic number, and it really does, you know, never always surprise me just how quickly fish kind of come round when they're at that kind of temperature. But yeah, again, I've written more in this piece I'm writing. The piece is actually something around my whole methodology in koi keeping and the simplicity of how it can be done, and kind of utilizing resources as well, you know, looking at budget and how you should best use your budget for running your pond, and just my whole mentality of what to look at rather than all these, you know, flashy, shiny gadgets and things like that, which inevitably don't make you better koi keepers. It's just how to best use everything, resources and people and everything around you to make koi keeping simple and enjoyable and successful for you. So I'm sure when it's done, I think it's going to be a 2-part piece, because it's heading towards possibly being a 4,000 or 5,000 word article. But yeah, stay tuned for it. I'm sure you'll all find it insightful. Happy New Year. Just wondering if there's any news on the Kaze show. I managed to get one. Would be nice now. It's going on. Yes, Tom, I can see which one you've got. That one is doing exceptional, mate, as well. We've had a couple of videos posted on the Facebook page on Koi Wholesale, so feel free to try and get them. It's due for another one soon, but they are doing incredibly well. They've hit their stride now, and they're absolutely on it. So, yeah, like I say, feel free to look them up. When you're heavily feeding at 25, do you feed 100% growth or mix it with chlorine and anything else? Dave, yeah, I often do it, but it depends on what fish are in the pond. That's always the deciding factor. If I am growing Shirotsori, the only thing I'm feeding is grow food. That is it, nothing else, because I don't want anything in there to have a negative impact, possibly force up secondary Benny, or taint the Shiroji more than it needs to be. So yeah, Deutz fish, again, it might be a case where Deutz fish I use 100% color food, because you really need to see them through the hottest months. But yeah, that's it. Really depends case by case. Or if I really want to push the growth, I've got one pond that I'm having a winter growth through at the minute, and they are actually on 100% growth, because I just want to max out what body I can gain. So yeah, that's the reason. There's always a plan. It's not necessarily one steadfast thing. If you've got a mixed pond, which is, I'm guessing a lot of you guys have, that's when you need to kind of consider what's best. And with a good quality color food, it shouldn't have too much of an impact. But what you've got to do is make decisions based on the masses. So if you've got a pond that's 90% Go Sankey, and then you've got, you know, a Shirotsori in there and a couple of other fish that are not, that would be, you know, negatively impacted by color food potentially, you've got to go with the masses. So something like over the height of the summer, a 75-25 mix of growth, chuck a bit of color food in there, is really just going to help keep things coming along for you. But really important stuff, color food. It's, yeah, again, I think, you know, prior to me really starting to talk about it, I just remember all the back in my very early days when I worked in my dad's shop, it was kind of like, oof, no, color food. It was like it was cheating. But yeah, you know, there's not many Japanese breeders I know who do not use it in spades and bucket loads, because it's just so difficult to naturally bring the color to absolute fruition without it. You know, and even light's becoming a problem. It's a problem again for me. I mentioned this last year. I'm looking at lighting and all sorts of stuff at the minute, because there's fish I can see negatively, the Benny being negatively impacted by the lack of UV and daylight that's out there at the minute. So yeah, it's all good stuff, guys. It's always a challenge, and yeah, just trying to interpret, obviously, you know, the things I do to how you can interpret that, because obviously I'm using a lot of segmentation, segregation, you know, really splitting things up to get the best for that batch of fish. But when you guys have got them 1-2 pond scenarios and they're mixed, it's what you can do with those to get the most out of it. So don't get me wrong, you know, if you fed some colour food in a mixed pond and it did have a, evening Alan, it did have a negative impact, you know, that's going to be reversed more than likely when the colour food stops. And with the higher quality colour foods or high quality spirulina, it actually has less of an impact on the shiroji than the cheaper ones. And I do know that I've had mixed ponds that have been fed heavily with sake colour, and it's not actually had any negative impacts in that sense. What can happen is, you know, if there's something genetically there in that fish, you know, and you get the wrong ingredients, they can really enhance that problem. So yeah, it is a minefield and one to navigate. Right, let me just see what's next. Graham, happy new year. Any big plans for this year, mate? Yeah, well, big plans. I mean, yeah, business wise, let's say the heating system outside is going to be a big one. And then as the weather settles down and it's not raining so much, which might be never in England, hopefully going to get the 2 new fish houses built, because that's just gone on and on and on now. It's a bit of a joke, but actually getting these ponds heated outside is going to give me the bit of flexibility I need in those ponds to yeah, hopefully free up getting the last greenhouse down and making a start, which is why I've not made a start, because I've got to get the greenhouse down that's still up at the moment down, because that's got to be the first one to be rebuilt. And yeah, it's been full of fish again all year, so nightmare. And yeah, business, you know, kind of from your guys' side of things, we've got some nice plans with Koi Talk that I hope to see through this year. I'd say the first one you are going to see with the change to the internal design of it, which I'm excited to share. But yeah, very soon, I've just been making the plans. So last year's Secret Sankey event, which was a huge success, and I think loved by all who was involved, really sat, you know, trying to figure out what I can come up with to actually top that as a batch of fish as well. And I was really, really racking my brain, because obviously just want to try and keep it interesting as well. And it's knowing what's available at that time. And I just couldn't, honestly, I was struggling like mad. I sort of kind of came to the NNDDK Shiros as an option, but no, Shiros are a very hit and miss variety out there with you guys. I think there's a lot serious lack of understanding with them in general, which makes it hard. But yeah, luckily, while I was in Japan, actually traveling on the train, did a lot of time on that, come up with something which I'm not going to give you too much info yet, but trust me, it tops it kind of ×5, I think, on what we did. So yeah, we are actually looking at getting that announced within this month, just trying to firm up the dates for the venue at the minute, but really excited for that one, and say what's lined up, bigger and better for sure. And that's in every aspect I'll try and do, but certainly with the fish, tops it. I'm just already sweating about what I'm going to do next year. So let's see. But that's as much I've got to tell you now, Graham, to be honest. Chris Brand, just got myself a Nisai Dainichi Black Zeus, really nice fish, good body male and great pattern so far. Anything I need to know about the development of these through the size brackets? Yeah, strap in, Chris, to be fair, because they are an absolute journey. I just literally had a guy collecting one from me, sold through one of my dealers, and I mean, wow, that fish, I was digging the original certificate out and it was pure black, head to tail, not a piece of shiroji in sight. And it was at the time of collecting it at Sanzai, it was a fully patterned Komonryu that was already on the actual side of more sumi development coming through. So God only knows where it's going to end up. They are a Komonryu at heart, and they're just wild and unpredictable. From the ones I've got, you know, there's others showing stability. I've got a couple that are but even though they're starting to change now naturally with age, but that's the same with common reel, from lineage to lineage, they can be different. But yeah, from what I'm seeing is that they're starting off very dark, which can be normal with a variety like that. Then naturally throwing the sumi off as they start growing, then the pattern starts re-emerging. So they're great fish, great growers. The body is phenomenal. The prime, the absolute, well, best two. I've got a male and a female that are just bonkers. The female one now I'm expecting measure up to be circa 70 cm as Sansai. Just wild. And when you see the body on it, any Go Sankey would be envious of the body that's got, never mind for a Deutz fish. It's insane. But fingers crossed they get back to producing some more of those over this summer, because I think there's really something in them with that Dainichi kind of mindset behind the production of them. Ian, how you doing, pal? If buying a tow side that is going to stay as a koi, what time of year do breeders tend to move the koi back to the mud ponds? Yeah, so typically, normally in April, providing the snow has cleared and the temperatures aren't too bad, they like to start moving some of the older fish back to the mud ponds. And then, yeah, in May, generally, you'll find that Tosai get released and they try and get the majority out in May. So, yeah, that's when that'll be, mate. And just pray for a good summer, because it's it's the Wild West at times. Let's say this year, and I've seen it impact so many fish. It was too hot, not enough water for the mud ponds, which generally means pollution levels are harder to manage, and they have to decrease feeding as a result. And then because the water is so warm, fish just stretch out. They still grow, but they struggle getting the volume because they can't feed the amount they need to get that volume along with the length. So yeah, always a challenge, that one, and it can vary pond by pond, as I've seen even at Dainichi Toyota. Two Sansai ponds, one just did insanely well, and the other one you could see was massively impacted just looking at the body. So yeah, and I do know Ian's asking that because he's just literally secured a phenomenal tow side that I'd got in Japan from NND Kohaku. So I know it's his first journey with that one, and yeah, best of luck, Ian. It's in very, very good hands with those guys and a super fish. So I'll be expecting some good results, mate. So what is the best food to feed koi? Also, why are there big pellets, smaller ones? Yeah, so Lisa, I am a massive advocate of Saki Akari. The stuff is expensive when you look at it at face value, but in my mind, there is no koi food even close to it. Certainly for concrete ponds as well, or enclosed ponds, it's just insane stuff, and that comes from years and years of experience of using pretty much just about every koi food out there. Yeah, things you have to kind of consider when you're looking at this is it's not always necessarily about the price you pay. I did do a video on YouTube looking at price per kilos, which the size of the bags you buy can make a massive difference. So it's only sold in 2, 5, and 15 kilo, so there's no small bags as such. But the big thing for me, and the intangible bit you can't really measure, or you could, but it'd take a lot of work, is looking at what conversion you actually get out of the fish food. So, it's all right looking, a fish that's half the price when you have to feed twice as much of it to get the same results. That just is crazy. And that is literally, I believe, the case with ponds, with foods out there. Some of them are absolutely shocking. And, when you're feeding twice the amount, that's twice the amount of food that your system's got to process and manage as well. So that's really, that conversion ratio is the big part that probably goes overlooked, which would really determine the true value of the food. But yeah, that's that part. Another one I have often mentioned, I think it's only right because it's not completely attainable for everybody. I've had good results with the A growth over the years. Again, it's not a super cheap food, but really, over periods, found some good results with it. The reason I never stick with it was there's no diversity in the pellet sizes, which is important for me, and no diversity in the range as well. And then, yeah, Takazumi is also a food I do rate, not as highly as sake. I will be clear on that, But you know, over the years I've dabbled with it, and you know, not being unhappy with the results as I have with a lot of others. So yeah, a few different options for you. And pellet sizes, yeah, this is a massive one and frustrates the hell out of me with a lot of fish food manufacturers, because I've got fish at the minute, you know, up to about 30 cent, 25 to 30 cm is my range. I'm still feeding a small pellet. And by small, it's kind of like the Akari small of 2 to 2.5 mil, which I like. Most UK manufacturers go 3 and 6 mil. Sakai does 2 to 2.5 and 5 to 5.5. Doesn't sound a lot, but when you actually see them pellets side by side, there seems a world of difference. And excuse me, it's really, really important. It's surface area for digestion. That's the way we've got to look at it. And that smaller pellet, obviously, when you put in 100 grams of that next to another, the surface area is completely different, and it aids in the digestive process. So yeah, I generally, as a rule of thumb, 25 to 30 cm, I'll still be feeding a small pellet. Then beyond that, I switch to a medium, but very rarely do I ever use a large pellet. Right, folks, I'm not going to leave it too much longer before I get to doing the winners of the Sunny Bank Sakai Growout. Let me just see what we've got here. Plenty of fish food questions tonight. Again, always a big topic, that one. It's fascinating. That one's an easy one. What's the lowest temp you would feed Saki growth at? 18, absolutely no lower. And 18 is with serious supervision as well. Like I say, you using that stuff at 18, you are seriously going to pile body weight on fast. Generally, I wouldn't recommend it under 20 if you're not as experienced, and doing it really for a specific purpose, which would be to some, you know, pretty fast weight gain. Amanda, what's Azakari, please? Yeah, so the translation of that is it's Japanese word to take care of, and it's a process with Japanese farms where you buy a fish there, ask to keep it as Azakari or in Azakari, however you want to say it, and then the breeder will take care of that fish at their farm for the agreed period of time. And there's more often a fee for that. Some breeders actually include it with the first year, depending on the level of the fish that you buy. And yeah, I mean, it can be a lot of fun. It can be a lot of stress as well. But it's the way. It's been a massive shift in the industry, and all the time I've been involved in it. From I remember the first time I was even offered. I was actually with Fujo when he was my export guide around the breeders at that point, and I was at Yagenji. And these level of these fish were buying, they actually asked, would you be prepared to leave one of them? And we did. That was great. And back then it was a rarity, and then it just started growing and growing, and now it's just a huge part of the industry where people are buying fish, leaving them in Japan. For people, these breeders have ultimately got a lot of resources, and sometimes it's just knowledge and know-how, but then also the resources in the ponds and the facilities to do it. I myself, been doing it more and more for people over here in the UK, and they seem to really love it. I enjoy growing fish. Again, I know what I'm doing with them. I've got the infrastructure around me to do it, especially like this time of year as well. So it's a nice way for you to enjoy fish. Oh, there we go. Look, Steve's on it. Yeah, and have it, raised, especially when you're buying high potential fish, which is the scene of it. But have them raised professionally, so to speak. And get the most out of them. To some, you'll be watching this thinking, why the hell would you buy a fish and leave it with somebody? But that is a lot of the reasons, it's helping them fulfill that potential. I often do it, although I'll look at some fish and think, well, I'm better off with that back home. Sometimes I feel like a fish needs a mud pond. And then in that case, I'm kind of looking at that going, well, I've not got a mud pond, so I've got to entrust it to somebody, but I'll be careful who I do it to, because I want it somebody who I know has got the ability and the skills to raise that fish successfully in a mud pond, not just put it in there, keep it alive and hope for the best when it comes out the other end. So yeah, there's a lot to it, but that's the basic concept and premise of it. How do you think Japanese breeders get the bodies of the koi look so much bigger, more full compared to yours? Is it due to genetics of the fish? No, that's a really simple one to answer. It's again resources, just following on from that, but it's the know-how in feeding. Feeding, there's no secrets to raising koi. Food, you start speaking to any top breeder, food is the first thing that will get mentioned without a shadow of a doubt. The quality of the food and the quantity of the food. Knowing the limits is a big problem, because feeding fish for that kind of body in that environment is a very intensive one. You would definitely say on average the mortality rate in doing it would be higher than it would be just keeping them kind of plodding and ticking away, and the risks are a lot higher, but it does look super impressive, and that's what it is. When you figure out, and you truly understand how to feed them properly, then you've got to work out, how to get the environment to function with that amount of food going in there. Obviously, temperature is a huge part of it. We can't do without the temperature in all this. But ultimately, you've got to get the feeding right and then create a pond that can process the waste that comes from such levels of feeding. Because if you don't do that, you're going to have all kinds of problems. And then obviously, it's not forgetting that, in all this as well, you've then got to stimulate the appetite, because you can't just, you've got to get the fish to eat a lot. And there's all kinds of factors, again, where that'll affect down to the food, the taste of the food, the smell of the food, all really important stuff for koi. Yeah, and then obviously the waste environment in the water. If you've got heavy pollution in there, that's going to have a negative effect. Oxygen levels, you then get into all this stuff. But ultimately, it comes down to the feeding. Hence what I just said earlier as well about the summers in Japan. When they're in a mud pond, and this is what breeders are now starting to see, obviously the risk of a mud pond is that you can have 6 months of the fish not doing things properly, because they're working blind. In a concrete pond, we can see everything. So therefore we can assess and see what's going on, see a problem come in a little bit quicker, plus also react and deal with it a lot faster than you can in a mud pond. But that's what it is. There's no secret to it. You can look at the water, do all that as much as you want. Food, and then I'd say getting the quality of the diet, just absolutely everything, and then working back from there, which is what it's all about. So yeah, there we go. I hope that helps. Just a quick question: when will the digital version be released for us in Brazil to have access to? Yeah, me and Steve was actually having a meeting about that today. We are working on a digital platform, let's say, and not necessarily just going to be the straight up magazine. We've not figured out how we want to do it yet, but we're just realizing, as much as I like to be stubborn, and for me it was always about having the physical magazine, we will still have that as the hero product. There's just a lot of people missing out on the content that we're getting and producing, and aware of that. And obviously the speed at which we can grow it through print into other countries is just very slow. The shipping costs are mightily prohibitive as well. So yes, Fernando, we're working on something. Let's just see how it goes. As ever, we've always got a lot on for a small team, and yeah, all my ideas and stuff don't help. But there we go. Let's see what this year brings. Right, I think on that note, I'll apologise if I have missed your question, but yeah. So last year we did a Growout event with Sunny Bank Koi, a batch of Sakai fish that I selected out for it, and all of the owners took those fish away, and they've been growing them in their own ponds. Photographed them, sent them back to Sunny Bank Koi, and yeah, over the Christmas time period, I have judged all those fish. So yeah, some amazing results. Congratulations to everybody who took part, and from what I've seen, it's done phenomenally well. Some really great fish come out of them as well, which is great to see. So yeah, let me just get them. So there's 4 prizes altogether for it. We have got best Tatigo. I better get these on my phone actually as well. So got best growth, Best Tatigoi, reserve champion, and grand champion. So, yeah, if you were a part of this, let's say well done for what you have done with the fish. There's going to be a £50 prize for each of the best growth, best Tatigoi, and reserve champion awards. That's going to be a Sunny voucher with Sunny Bank Koi to spend on whatever you wish, and a £100 voucher to the grand champion prize. And then, yeah, each of the 4 winners is also going to get a 2024, one of the big Japanese calendars that I've got from Koi Farm. So nice little touch there. So first of all, let's go with best growth. So this one was won by Paul Harrower for this fish. Actually, coming in, we did verify it as well at 42 cm. Absolutely superb. Fish was looking great as well, to be honest with you. But overall, really, really nice growth. Biggest of the bunch, done exceptionally well. And by the looks of it, plenty more to come from it as well. And a cracking size. So, yeah, well done on that one, Paul. Like I say, that's you have won their £50 voucher and one of the calendars, and Sunny Bank Koi will be in touch with you for that one. But yeah, really like that typical sort of soft looking Sakai Benny there on that one. Like I say, there's going to be a lot more to come from it. The next one, we've got the best Tatigoi award. Now, this one I enjoyed picking because it's really looking at a fish differently and more often how my eye is tuned to look at fish for the longer term. And also looking at it from where it started, it was quite nice to see. But yeah, this fish I believe is one that's really going to excel moving forwards. Not necessarily the best looking one right now, but really going to push on. So the best Tatigoi award for that is going to David Collinson for this Sankey. Nice to see it before there, look. But what a beast. Really, really looking nice there. I can just see that body potential. You know, it's grown on, but by the time this actually starts filling into that frame that it's got, I believe there's going to be a really, really exceptional piece there. Let me just play that again. So, David, you are the winner again of £50 Sunny Bank Koi voucher and one of the calendars. But yeah, really, really nice fish that. All I would say, David, a bit of recommendation is I'm not sure again what diet they're on, but some colour food there, or even if it's been outside, it might have been in an indoor pond, but some colour food would really help bring that orangey Benny along and up more to the sort of red colour people expect to see. You can see there a big differential in the Benny on the head to the rest of the body. So you need to get that pigment on the body to start catching up. But yeah, well done. Cracking growth, cracking fish, great prospects for the future moving forwards for sure. So yeah, we're moving closer to the bigger ones now. And yeah, these really, really got, let's have a look. So reserve champion prize. This was a very, very close one, to be fair, between the reserve champion and the grand champion. Between them, there were two really, really standout fish. But yeah, this Kohaku, Richard Orswick took the reserve grand champion prize. What a piece that was for what money these fish were. To have something of that standard come out of it, I'm sure the owner's absolutely thrilled. But yeah, that's again a super piece going to be moving forwards as well. The body's brilliant. The growth's been superb on it as well. It's an absolute powerhouse. So congratulations there, Richard, on that one. Again, you've won a £50 voucher and yeah, one of the calendars. But well done. You can just see there, look, it's got amazing Marizomi Kiwa forming. Still a long way to go, but the Benny's looking good. It's just that body. It's an absolute powerhouse. Typical Sakai characteristics, and I'm sure that's going to be a good fish. You know, do you well moving forwards. So well done with that one. And then yeah, the big one. So the grand champion prize, and like I say, it was a toss up when you see these fish between this and the last one, but we've got this Kohaku from Richard Hendy. Yeah, mega. for me, with that one, I just see the Benny, the sort of skin luster, the body's even a notch up from that one, but kind of the refinement of the Sashi and the Kiwa, absolutely superb. Yeah, like I say, both those two standout pieces, but that one really, for me, just with that extra bit of refinement that it's got, pipped it. So well done on that one. And yeah, Richard, like I say, you've actually won the £100 voucher with Sunny Bank Koi and one of the calendars. So, like I say, those guys will be in touch. And yeah, they've also their NND Koaku events. I believe there's still some of those left. And surprisingly, from what I've seen, some fish I really, really rate in there, probably the highest of the whole batch that they've got. So they're growing on with me now. They're really starting to come on really, really well at the minute, hitting that stride where they was sort of stretching out a bit, and now I'm getting the feeding level to a point where they're starting to fill out at the same time. Quite a hard spot to get to, but yeah, amazing stuff. Like I say, congrats to all of those guys, and yeah, there we go, guys. I'm going to leave it at that for this week because my head is still absolutely bouncing. But yeah, I'll be back next week, and stay tuned. But like I say, you know, look out, Koi Talk guys, for all them sort of changes coming up, and the podcast. Yeah, amazing, Jonathan. Just a quick one there, Kaze Show, as I mentioned them. Yeah, please, I'll pop another update on Facebook soon, but there is a couple on there already, but they are flying. So I do really enjoy this stuff where I'm raising fish for people as well, because I know, you know, that the surprise that I'm expecting people to see that we saw at the Secret Sankey event last year, from that, you know, A to B in them timescales is pretty awesome. And yeah, I just like seeing that shock on people's faces when they've got this fish that's yeah, nothing like what they bought it, in all the good ways. So yeah, there we go. Like I say, congratulations to everyone. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in, and I'm going to go and have an early night. So thanks a lot.